Dr. Harvey Elder is going to do an interview with me, and I am filling a role that is real. And it's not mine, but it's someone that I know. Okay? So, and someone, it's not current, it was past. So we are going to have this interview, and I'm going to play this role out as this person would have played it at the time. What we want you to do is on this blue sheet to write notes. After the interview, you all are going to tell us, sorry, no, it doesn't start like that. We are going to talk about what it was like to do our part. Then we're going to open it up for you to talk about what you saw. And then we're going to have a panel of people, these are experts, that will give us feedback on that situation. And we're going to introduce them in just a moment. Now, and here's the catch. We're going to do a second interview, and that will be from someone in the audience. Now, I almost put colored pieces of paper under your chairs and just said, whoever has that colored piece, but I thought that would scare you to death and you would all leave. So, if you are someone that would like to portray a situation, not that you've made up, but a situation that is either yours or belongs to someone that you know well enough that you can get inside that situation, then you will be next. And Dr. Elder will do the interview with you. Now, what is the purpose of this? He and I have talked about the first interview. He knows what exactly the role that I'm playing. So he's been able to get ready for it. But in the next one, we want it to be cold turkey. You see what I'm saying? So we want someone out there to be getting ready with a second scenario that you will bring up here and that our panel will discuss afterwards. Is everybody clear with what's happening? All right. At the end, with the last 15 minutes of this time, we're going to open up. Now, our speakers don't know this, and I hope they didn't all leave. But you will be actually able to ask them questions. Are you all comfortable with that? Dr. Thiessen? Are they going to be back here? Yeah, I know he's not here. Do you know Martha's name? Oh, she had to leave his name. Okay. So Sonia and Elmer. Okay. So we have two of our speakers here, and some of our respondents are still here. So you'll be able to ask questions of the ones who are here. All right. Okay. Let's introduce our panel real quickly. Where are the panel members?
Right in front of you.
Well, hello. So if you'll just stand up and introduce yourselves, that would be great.
I'm Kathy McMillan, and I'm the Director of Employee Spiritual Care here at Loma Linda University Medical Center.
Hi, everyone. I'm Reverend Craig Beardenful. I am a chaplain and clinical pastoral education supervisor at St. Joseph Hospital in Orange, California.
Will Alexander, I'm still above ground.
Glad to see you're still on the right side of the grass here, Will. Yes. My name is John Testerman. I'm a family doctor, and I chair the Spiritual Life and Wholeness Committee for School of Medicine.
I'm Roger Woodruff. I'm a family physician practicing in Spokane, Washington.
I'm going to say a few things first. Carla gave me permission to make a few comments before I start. What I want you to understand, am I on? What I want you to understand is where I see spiritual care in the care of patients. I'm an internist. My training is infectious disease, and I spent the last 30 years taking care of people with HIV. That's my background. That's my story. That's where I'm coming from. I see spiritual care as integral to the care of patients. It's not an added on. It's not a bonus. It's not the wrapping on the package. It is part of the package. I will illustrate very simply. If I have a patient come in to me for whatever the issue is, and they're talking about something which I'm going to say now is minor, let's say they have a sore throat and they know what to do about it. But as I talk to the patient, as I look at the patient, as I examine the patient, they are pale. They didn't ask for a CBC, but I'm going to do a CBC. Why? Because obviously something isn't right with their red cell mechanism. Okay? When a patient comes into me with a symptom, there is something with that symptom that brought them to see me. They didn't come to see me for the symptom, they came for the meaning of the symptom. And if I only deal with the symptom and not the meaning, the problem still exists. It's just it doesn't have a symptom to attach it to. And they will be back with the next symptom with the same problem. Am I communicating? Are you with me? Okay. I will do this now. I will very often ask my patients, first visit, you know, I want to know more about them. I want to know a little bit about their religious history. And I ask them, what was the religion of your parents? And I generally will guess based upon my understanding of their ethnic origin. And so they generally correct me. I'm usually wrong, and we chuckle about that. And let's say that they were a Presbyterian. And so I ask them, are you still practicing? And sometimes what I get from them is a no, and they look down. And so I will say to them, let me guess. As you were growing up, you were told God hated gays. Am I right? And I get that nodded, worthless thing. Okay? Now, to me, we've identified a spiritual emergency. This is something that is believed about God that is totally wrong. And I am going to go in. And I will say to the patient, I am a Christian. Somebody has blasphemed my God to you. They have lied to you. And what they told you is wrong. Someday, I hope you can find forgiveness. I'm not asking you to forgive now. But you have been lied to. Okay? Why do I do that? As I said, I see this as a spiritual emergency. For me, it would be unethical to not say something. I'll put it another way. I have something to offer that would be beneficial. And to not offer it is wrong. I cannot thus be silent. And so for me, as I look at patients, as I hear patients, to not think in spiritual terms is as unethical as to not follow up on the anemia of a pale, pasty patient. Both are wrong, because I, as a clinician, have the ability to do something about it. The something may be nothing more than to refer, but I have the ability to do something about it. Okay? Now, if you get the idea, I feel strongly about it. You've heard me. I feel strongly about it. With that, Carla, I lost my patient. Oh, here you are. You will have a chance to ask questions later, so that's okay. And the panel will get a chance to ask questions sooner. Good morning, Mrs. Parks. I'm Dr. Elder.
No.
What can I do for you?
Well, I've just got a bit of headaches. Been having lots of headaches.
You've been having lots of headaches.
Mm-hmm.
How long has this been going on?
Well, not very long. Probably about 4 weeks, but I've never had headaches before. A few headaches, and went to a doctor before we moved out here, and he thought it might be allergies, but I've never had allergies in my life. So I don't know what this is, but it's just I feel like my whole head is going to explode sometimes.
Both sides or one side?
Both.
Both sides.
Mm-hmm.
Is it a tightness?
It feels like a fullness, like I'm coughing up stuff.
Oh,
And,
you are.
Yeah, and it's really gross.
Gross stuff.
Gross.
Yeah. And does anything help it?
No, I've been taking Tylenol and Advil and everything I can think of, and it makes me feel better for a little bit, and then
You're back.
I've been for weeks with this headache.
Okay. I'm going to leave the headache now, okay? And assume that I've finished doing that part of the workup. Anything else going on in your health? Otherwise, you're in good health. Great. Great. Parts. What nationality is that?
Scottish?
Scottish. So would I assume a Presbyterian heritage for your
Yes.
folks?
Yes.
Are you still practicing?
Well, I went to church up until I was about 14, but
Not anything now.
no.
Okay. I want to go back to the headache. This is obviously very disruptive.
Yes.
What were you like before the headaches?
Well, I mean, I'm an active person.
You're an active
Yeah,
person.
very.
And the headaches had done what to your activity?
Well, they make me not want to get out and be active because, it's kind of
I
the
see.
throbbing hurts
So
more.
it's changed your life.
Sure.
How do you respond to that?
I don't like it.
Don't like it?
No.
Okay. And so how have you adapted?
I just keep hoping it's going to go away.
You want it to go away. You're waiting for it to go away. But it's been on for several weeks, and this has been very just impairing to who you are. When you were well, what did you do for fun?
Oh, I bike, play tennis, all kinds of things.
Okay. You look like a otherwise physically fit person. Do I assume that?
Oh yeah, very healthy.
Okay. And so other than the headaches, you're a healthy person. From your neck down, you're healthy.
Yeah.
What does that say about who you are?
Well, I have, I've kept my body healthy. I eat good things, and I shouldn't have a headache.
You shouldn't have a headache.
No.
You've done it right. You were supposed to be well,
Yeah.
and now a headache.
Right.
You have an intruder.
I do.
You've been invaded by a headache.
I have.
How has that affected you other than the fact you can't do what you want?
Well, I don't like it.
You don't like it.
No, I feel out of control, because I can't make it go away. I'm like, what is this? Am I going to die or something? Some kind of brain tumor or what?
How, has anybody done a workup for the brain tumor?
No.
No.
Well, I hope there isn't one.
Okay. If we were in an ordinary situation, I would pursue that at that point. But we're not. I'm thinking of your world, Ms. Park. A healthy, vivacious, energetic person. And suddenly, if the head were better, how do we talk about the person with the head isn't better?
Where the head isn't better?
Isn't better. How do we talk? Who is that person?
Well, that's funny. It doesn't, that's what makes me feel like not the same person. Because I'm happy and I'm active, and then all of a sudden I'm just now sitting on the couch and I can't be active in these last 4 weeks. It's like a different person, and I can't even relate to this person.
I hear that, and I hear that as just very disturbing. It has taken your world and almost turned it upside down.
Yeah, in the last 4 weeks, that's crazy to say. A headache shouldn't do that, but it has.
Oh, headaches will do what headaches want to do.
Yeah, it sounds like
Yeah.
you've had one.
Oh, I've had headaches. I've had lots of headaches. How in this headache world do you see life as beautiful?
Well,
You did before.
Yes, but in the headache world, it's not real beautiful.
It's not beautiful. Oh dear. Ugly?
Painful.
Painful. And so your focus.
And a bit dark because I would like the lights off.
Okay. So your focus has gone from the world you enjoy to head. Okay. Where I would like to go are two things then. Let's assume I've examined the patient and so forth. I'd like to pursue the diagnosis of the headache further, and we need some studies for that. But I would also like to pursue, Ms. Park, for you to see yourself, despite the headache, as precious and beautiful.
It's so hard, because honestly, I think there's a little depression in there because I can't get rid of the headache. So I'm a little bit down.
Sure.
And precious and beautiful are kind of like way over there.
Yeah. But when you were in full health, bicycling, playing tennis, etc., you were precious and beautiful. You are still the same person, so you are still precious and beautiful, but you have a headache. In other words, precious and beautiful has the headache. You are not the headache. Does that make sense?
Well, I appreciate that. Sometimes it feels like that.
Yeah.
But you're right. Logically, that's true.
Okay. What I'd like you to do then is to see yourself as precious and beautiful. A little self-talk while we go on and pursue the diagnosis. Okay?
Okay.
Now, I'm finished with where I would go with the spiritual on that.
Okay, at this point, we will, Dr. Elder and I will share just a little bit, and then you will talk back to us, and then our panel will respond.
Where I was going, and I hope it was obvious, is I was looking for a kernel of that which is an identity with the patient. And I wanted to bring out that kernel and establish that as who she is. That's where I was going.
It's funny, you're role playing, but still things lodge in a place that's real. In the strangest way, when he said, "You are not your headache," there was a place of rest right there, where in the role play, in the imagination of this, I had become that headache, and that was strangely relieving to me. Even more so than the later comments. That one was a very helpful comment.
Okay, those of you, do we have a roving mic?
No. Okay. If you want to make a comment, could you please come up so that you can borrow our mics? Thank you.
Well, I was just wondering, Harvey, if she'd have said, "Well, what's going on here? What are you doing? This is what my headache helped." How would you have approached that?
How would I approach it? I want her to be able to deal with the headache. The overwhelming odds, okay, I'm concerned about a 4-week headache. If this had been a 1-year headache, the overwhelming odds are that I would not be able to do much for the headache other than take analgesics, which is what she's already doing. So she needs to develop the ability to cope with the headache. And if the headache becomes her identity and is thus destructive to who she is, her personality is into depression on the way down. On the other hand, if she is a person who has significance and meaning, who happens to have headache, today I have headache. Now, the reason I didn't go any further is obviously she doesn't bring with it a religious perspective. So at this point, I'm not going there.
So it might have come out. So if it did, she would have maybe brought it out at that point. If she did, if it was, well, I'm being punished, or I
Oh.
must have done something wrong or something, then.
Then we deal with that then.
So you were thinking that if, with the questions you asked, that would have been the time she would have revealed it.
Yeah.
I'm one of Harvey's colleagues, so I can speak freely. So, Harvey, as I listened to you, I said to myself, oh, for heaven's sake, get on with it, Harvey. So, you spent, I don't know how many minutes it was, but the front desk is going to be saying your next patient is here. Oh, okay. So what I heard you do is ignore her symptoms of disgusting stuff coming out and this cough that was coming up. And this is the first visit. Okay, so now if I'm Carla, and Carla's different than I'm going to say, come on, I came here to get this fixed up, and this headache business
Well, he did say, well, let's say I dealt with that. He did say that. That's why I let him.
Right, but he's dealt with that, and that took the 8 minutes of the 10-minute visit. So, when I observe this, I actually see much too much time spent on finding out who you are, and basically my response was, "Oh, for heaven's sake, get on with it."
It may be why you're not my patient, Ingrid. But on a first visit, to me, I will do a social history.
I
And
do
so that's
social
part-
history too, but I make the claim that a physician earns the right to give their testimony by being a good doctor and fixing the problem first. She will be back, and then, in my opinion, that can happen some later time.
Hang on just a second. Do you remember
Your faith flags enough?
Yes.
Can you share with them your faith flags? Those are wonderful.
Okay. I have a sinusitis faith flag, and so maybe the only thing I might say on the first visit is, as I discuss with a patient, for instance.
Tell them what a faith flag
okay,
is.
a faith flag is where a ship puts their flag up when they come into harbor, and when they leave, they come out. So a faith flag is putting your hand up and down and letting your patient know you're a Christian, you're a safe place. If they want to talk about something spiritual, they can do it, and it takes less than 10 seconds. And so, with sinusitis, I usually explain, that if they need to use something to shrink the mucosa, and they can drain their nose, and I describe to them the fact that they have to lie down, head down over the bed, in order to do this. And I explain that the drainage holes on the sinuses are up higher than you would expect them to be. And so my faith flag is, I said, I have no idea why God made us this way, but when I'm going to get up there, He's got some explaining to do, period. Now be sure you do this once a day, blah, blah. And so that tells the patient that I am a person of faith, that I believe in God, I believe He's the Creator, but I believe He's got some explaining to do, that things don't go well. And that took less than 10 seconds.
Anybody else?
Yes, it sometimes does and sometimes doesn't. Yeah.
My name is Lucy Daly. I've been a nurse for many, many years, retired now. And I was impressed. Part of me, because I worked for a physician at one time who saw probably almost 100 patients a day, by himself, with 5 nurses. And I would always wonder, but he was about the only physician in the area, and everybody knew he was a Christian. And he was very helpful, but I have never liked this kind of nursing where I have to rush my patient. And part of me, if I were Carla, I would be wondering, where is he going with this? But he's interested in me as a person. There's something going on here I don't quite get. I'll answer his questions and I'll figure it out. But I'm interested. I'll be back. And you would be back probably the second visit. But yes, we have experience here and we have to get things done. But I like that you focus on her. And that perhaps that would give her a lot of food for thought for herself as a person.
Thank you.
So I appreciate it.
We're going to let the panel speak, but just before they speak, is there someone out there that's ready to do the next one? There's so many hands going up, I don't know which one to choose. Anybody? Because I have one ready to go if you don't, but we're hoping that someone from the audience will play. Is there a prize? You want to do it? I know. Anybody want to try this? Come on, we've got some actors out there. No? Okay. All right, panel?
Any comments on this?
One of the things that I really appreciated was the question where you just asked, is there anything else going on? She took it as a help-based question. I'm not sure if that's the way you meant it or not, but I do love that question because I think so many times when a person has physical symptoms, there may be something else concurrently going on. And that's a very open-ended way of getting at other things. So if she was facing a family member's illness or financial stress, I mean, that gives an opportunity for something like that to come up if she chose to go there.
Yeah, thank you, Kathy.
I want to respond to that. In the role play, I really did have something else going on, and I had decided not to say it, just like some people do. In other words, I don't know if I'm making myself clear. The role play person had something else and decided not to say it. But when he asked that, it was a comforting question, even though I decided not to respond to it. So sometimes you can't see it all.
And that actually is one of the spiritual history questions that we've decided to use here at Loma Linda, where we want to find out if there's other things going on in the life that would be pertinent.
I wanted to make a couple of comments and then I have a question as well for you, Dr. Following up on what Ingrid said, I find in a practice of 20 plus patients in a day that I probably wouldn't feel comfortable going that far on the first visit for a headache, knowing I would definitely be setting a follow-up visit depending on the severity of 2 days, a week, maybe 2 at the most. We'd probably build toward that. I love the reminder of asking the other questions early. And then the other perspective in a practice, when there's one kind of a new patient is a new consult with someone you've never met. The more common patient in an established practice is someone you know well. I have patients I've cared for 23 years since I came to Spokane. I already know a lot of these things, however, it's still a good question to ask because something new may have come up. And so I love the question, even for someone that I know well. And I think also that raises the possibility of diving in deeper much more quickly when you know someone well. Mm-hmm. So there are two scenarios at play. One that might, for me, seem more extended, and of course this was a role play, and so my question for you is, would you truly have gone that far on the first visit if you didn't know Carla, versus if she was an established patient? Or did the role play actually push you further to do it? It felt uncomfortable for me to think of it that way, and for me, I just assumed it was because it was a role play.
Thanks for the question, Roger. It was because it was a role play. I would have stopped after the question when she said that she doesn't go to church. I would have stopped there and just kept right on going and pick it up in the next visit, or something came up. I said, by the way, you told me you aren't going, is there a story there?
Thank you for clarifying. That part was great. Mm-hmm. And after that, that's where I thought that might have been a second or even perhaps a third visit, because it is a different, where that really would become pertinent. And this is so common if someone begins to live with a chronic problem, like headaches, and there are many patients who live with headaches their entire life. That becomes so critical. So I thank you for that clarification.
Thank you.
I enjoyed your emphasis on who you really are. You are not pathetic. This is a problem don't see this so much in an acute medical situation, but as things become chronic, you have chronic pain patients or patients with chronic disabilities. People can come to see themselves as, I am my pain, I am my disability, or I am my age. And lose track of the fact that they are beautiful children of God. And at some point, I think we can play a role in reminding people who they really are. First of all, by being really present to them and really seeing them as that, and not just treating them, oh, my God. So I think that was a really neat, really good contribution you made there. In terms of when to address these things, I think when patients come in, or my new patients, I go through kind of the usual past family social history and so forth, and I take spiritual history, and there is just part of the rest of it. I mean, we ask people whether they smoke or they drink, who's had this or that in their family, and about their family system, and ask them about they belong to a church, is religion important to them, this kind of thing. So that sort of general history can come, and then I know later what kind of resources I might have in terms of family belief, when something comes up with difficulty. I also ask patients, you may come in just for some seemingly innocuous acute self-limited problem, sort of throat or something. Anything happening in your life recently that you'd like to tell me about? What's going on? And I asked that question once to a lady who had just come in for a very minor self-limiting kind of problem, and she told me my husband died 2 days ago. Oh, I was glad I asked that question. So it is amazing what you learn if you simply ask.
Well, either one of you?
Sure. I appreciate all the comments that have been made so far, and I just wanted to say that, one thing that was clear to me in observing the simulation is your genuine care and compassion for a patient, and I think that's just critically important as a physician or any other kind of caregiver. Taking the time to hear out her concerns and to learn about her and for her to share her story. I also wondered, as was shared earlier, about getting a sense of what it was that was going on in her life, and I've often found that with many patients, as Carla shared, that they won't be initially willing to just come out and say what's going on, that they're going to hold it in and feel like, well, I'm not sure this is the right place to talk about that. And so sometimes, particularly once you've established trust with the patient, you can go ahead and ask a little bit more direct question. And so, maybe not in that first encounter with the patient, but in a subsequent encounter, you might be able to go ahead and make that direct question. It seems like, something else might be going on in your life right now. And then the last thing that I would just add quickly, too, is, I believe your name was Ingrid, who came up. I can certainly understand the perspective you're coming from, being in a position of having a whole lot of work to do in the course of the day. At the same time, I won't go too much on my soapbox here, but at the same time, I think that's precisely one of the problems with healthcare today, is this mentality of get on with it, come on, there's more to do, there's more people to see. And when patients get that message, that's when they decide, okay, this isn't the right place to talk about this. And you end up with, the cancer patient or the heart patient who has a parent who's dying and doesn't say anything, and that's having a huge impact on how they're doing, and you don't know anything about it.
Will.
Have you read this group anything about CLEAR so far? Anything about CLEAR?
No, I will in just a minute.
Because I wanted to go at that as to what happened here as a good example.
Oh, go ahead.
Well, no, tell them first and then I'll go there. Tell them about that. For over a year or so, this group has been all over the university. I don't know, 100 or so people narrowed down to a neat committee to look at a way in which we could take a history that would seem like it was a part of the care of the patient. And they came up with the acronym CLEAR. C is for connect, L is for listen, E is for explore, A is for acknowledge, and L is for whatever L is for.
R.
R is for
Respond.
I'm thinking so.
Yeah, respond.
R is for response and putting the resources that they're doing. Harvey, you came in as a physician, sat down with her. What were your first words?
If something in terms of what she wanted from me, why she came.
Now, that's a traditional thing. So, what brings you in today? Is that a connect? Carla, was that a connect?
I would say it connected more later.
And is it important to do it at the beginning so you know this is also a physician, but he's also a person? I'm just thinking of the timing of it.
May I step in there? I think they connected because he introduced himself and clarified her name, and
Yeah.
to me, that's a great connection to get
That's
started.
true, yeah.
Because she's here for a really specific reason, but am I off base?
Well, that's true. Yeah, he did use my name. Yeah, yeah.
Can I start over? When were you aware that he was listening? That she was. When were you aware that he was listening?
You're asking me? I felt he was listening all along, but
Did he have an agenda as he listened?
I didn't feel that he did.
He was
Except at
responding.
the end, I felt like he wanted me to know, because he said it twice, that I was precious. And I was playing, actually, my husband is struggling with headaches right now, and I was trying to play that real logical, and before now he's a church-going man, but before he wasn't. So I was trying to imagine how he would play it. And when he said precious, I was like, I don't know how he would play that part of it. so I was a little stumped.
I guess where I was taken aback was when you said, so, that suggests you have a religious background. And I couldn't see where that had come into the aura and the other stuff we were talking about.
Well, that's
See how
interesting.
defensive we are?
That's interesting, Will. If I had been playing anyone other than my husband, it might have been different. But Presbyterianism to the Scottish is like one and the same in a way. And so when I said Scottish and he said, oh, so you have a I thought, oh, he gets it. Now, that probably wouldn't have been the case had I said, been anybody else saying any other thing. But to the Scottish people, Presbyterianism is their background.
And this is the real concern of a person with a headache. Carl,
Which concern?
that you're a Presbyterian.
Well, you know what I don't know. Why don't you say what you're trying to get at?
I want to jump in because
Okay.
I felt like that was part of the connecting piece.
Yeah.
That he was trying to connect with her and identify.
But her head hurts.
Well, he's getting there.
Now, see, this is where they are a little different. I neither one better than the other, but Will at the bedside well, what you want to tell this? Yeah. He has questions that are about connection, just connection. Questions like, what are you famous for? And where did you get that beautiful Afghan? And who's this lovely lady beside you? So there are all these connecting questions. I think that's something you do well.
I think what I've been trying to learn for 40 years is every disease process has its own kind of concerns. And at that point, it has its own concerns. Mm-hmm. And each one of us, if we were talking about our own headaches, that wouldn't be our first concern. Mm-hmm. And I see it beautifully that you've mentioned this, Dr. McMillan, that connection is the biggie here. But I would think fear, because a couple of times you mentioned, I wondered if it is a tumor. And so if she kept talking, I said, is this scary for you? That's what I would say, is this scary for you? And then she would have said,
I would have said no, because I was kind of joking. I wasn't too scared at that point. I'm trying to play my husband. He's not worried yet that he has a tumor. But that's a fair question. Are you afraid? But I think he would say no, not at this point.
so the immediate thing a physician does is to try to relieve what you came in for. And I think the concern out here is on this first visit. But Harvey's absolutely right. I found that physicians don't move a little toward this in the beginning. It takes them another long time to get to it. So, okay, I'm done.
Thank you.
I have one more caveat, because I may not get a chance.
Oh,
I hate the word provider. These are not providers, they're caregivers. And they're committed and they're called and they're beautiful. And to provide is so commercial, it's like I'll provide the aspirin, you provide the headache.
Okay, that's great. We're going to do a second scenario, and we'll start
I want to make one other last comment, if I may. I have a microphone. And that is, on a first visit, I mean, I said I would have gone that far. I want to ask something that has a religious or spiritual connection. So subsequently I can say, you said, tell me more about. And so I would like something there as a continuity.
But you usually go religion.
Beg pardon?
You usually go religion.
I did.
Well, what we have here is a word that could be sacred or secular. And that's a wonderful thing about language. And he said, and then the second point I want to make is your being. Because he's so kind and compassionate, when he said the second time you're precious, and I think my husband wouldn't have known what to do with that, it was forgivable because of his kindness. So I think, we're not always going to say the perfect thing. And if that genuine nature is on your side, that patient is going to be there with you. So shall we do the next one?
Still
All
wrong,
right.
but forgivable.
Yes, a comment? Oh, good. We're ready. Come on up, Kathy.
Good afternoon. I'm Dr. Elder, and I'm going to struggle with your name. Could you help me?
Well, it's like scoot over, only it's schoonover. Like if
Schoonover.
I say schoonover, Schaffner, like Schaffner.
Schoonover Schaffner.
Yeah. But you can just call me Kathy.
I like that better. I have trouble with names. My son says I shouldn't say that, so I'm not going to say that.
I look back and think maybe I shouldn't have done the hyphenated thing, but
No, I'm glad you
it's too
did.
late now.
Yeah. And so, Kathy, what issue is going on? Why came today?
Well, I wasn't very happy with my primary provider because I had a knee replacement 3 years ago.
Knee replacement.
Yeah, total left knee arthroplasty. And the orthopedist told me that it would last 15, 20 years, but I shouldn't do high impact sports and stuff. And it's just killing me. It just swells up all the time. The other day I was at work and it buckled out from under me, and and he said I couldn't get another one. He said if this was it, that I'm done. And I'm just like, so are we just not going to have a knee? Am I going to be in a wheelchair? And so my primary provider thought I was getting hysterical, and I was sick of it. And so I thought, I'm going to go talk to somebody else.
I am hearing a great deal of concern.
What? I'm mad. You pay a lot of money for these things.
Yeah. And you got the knee replaced. You went through a lot of money, a lot of exercising, a lot of time, hoping to get back to something you remembered.
Yeah.
It didn't work out that way.
No. That's a good one. That was good.
Yeah. And so...
Well, they told me that it would. And that
You believe it?
Well, everybody says, oh, old knee's good, new knee, whatever. The orthopedist, I can't call it my bad knee. I have to call it my new knee. So it was my bad knee. Now it's my new knee. But it's a bad knee.
I gather you're not ready to go back to the orthopedist.
Well, if he'd be a little more personable, a little more act like he even cares, but...
Doesn't seem to care.
Well, I don't think so. He told me for years the only reason I couldn't straighten my knees because it was all in my head. But anyway, we're not going to talk about him. I don't like him. I hope I like you.
I would like you to like me, but that isn't the issue. I'm concerned about your knee, Kathy. And to deal with that part of the problem, I would need more information about the knee and other stuff.
Sure, I can sign for you to get my records.
Okay. But I also want to deal with Kathy, who has the knee. How can we help Kathy deal with this terrible situation? She was looking forward to having a knee that worked.
Well, sure.
And now what she has is a big bill, a knee that doesn't work, that's not much better than it was before, and her dreams and hopes are gone down. Am I hearing you?
Well, is there any way you could write a prescription for tell my lazy teenage kids to pick up after themselves? And my husband, he works long hours and he never pays any attention to me. I'm really frustrated. And and they know I don't feel good, and they just think I ought to work harder, and I'm sick of it. But, could you write a prescription like that said I couldn't vacuum and stuff?
Okay. You have a typical home with teenagers, and mother has a knee that doesn't work, and husband isn't picking up the load. And here you are. So you're mad at the doctor, you're mad at the orthopedist, you're mad at losing the money, you're mad at the kids, and you're mad at your husband.
Well, I hadn't thought about it that way, but I guess I am. I'm just kind of a mad person. I'm angry.
Yeah.
Life shouldn't be this hard.
Are you angry at Kathy?
Oh, I'm too fat, but, I don't know. I did all the physical therapy. I did everything they told me to. I think God just gave me really crappy knees.
Oh, now it's God's fault.
Well, he could have done a better job.
Yeah. Talk to me a bit about your relationship with God, Kathy.
Oh, he's let me down a lot.
Mm-hmm. And your husband's let you down.
Yeah.
And your kids have let you down. And the orthopedist has let you down. And the knee has let you down. And your private doctor has let you down. Am I hearing you?
Well, now it sounds like I'm kind of a big whiner, complainer, and I don't mean it that way, but
Yeah,
I guess I do kind of feel that way.
Yeah. So what can you do?
Get a new doctor.
I love your faith in me. Unfortunately, it's misplaced. I can't turn all of that around. I'm a doctor, and that's it. So the question comes up, what can you do? What are you willing to do? Where do you want to go, Kathy?
Hawaii? I could move out to California and I'd like it. I don't know what I really want. I just want to feel better and be able to do things and not
What
my
would
leg
it
not
take?
go out on me. And
What would it take for Kathy to feel better about Kathy? You need an answer because I'm going to come up with one otherwise.
Do what?
I said, you need to give me an answer or I will come up with one.
Oh, lose 50 pounds.
Okay.
Maybe be more patient, not scream at my kids all the time. I don't know.
Does Kathy love Kathy?
Is this psychotherapy or are you a medical doctor?
I'm not going to psychotherapy, don't worry. I'm going elsewhere.
Well, nobody really likes himself. Do you like yourself?
Yes.
Well, you're arrogant then. Doctor. Maybe you could explain what you mean by like yourself.
Because where I want to go, Kathy, is to raise the question, does God love you?
That's a good one.
Yeah.
I have no idea.
You mentioned God.
Well, he's out there, but
way out
well, yeah. I mean, I think God kind of started stuff off, but we're on our own after that.
there. You've been on your own.
Yeah, my entire life.
Okay. Then I'll withdraw the question about whether God loves you. Does anybody in the universe love you? But Kathy is here all alone without anyone to love her. She has trusted God, he doesn't care. Trusted her husband, he doesn't care. Has tried to trust the kids, but that didn't work. Tried to trust the doctor. Tried to trust the knee.
I think you just have to kind of be, like Simon and Garfunkel. I'm a rock, I'm an island.
Now that was okay before you got the knee. You could be the rock. But the knee makes you a crumbling rock.
Well, that's a good way of putting it.
And so where does Kathy go to deal with the brokenness and the heartache and the suffering that she has?
Oh, every now and then I go and have a margarita or something, but...
Every now and then is how many times a day?
Oh, not daily, but, well, probably more than I should.
More recently.
You mean like when was the last time I had a margarita?
Not asking the details.
Oh, okay.
But where I'm going with that is to say I see you trusting something that is not particularly going to help you.
Yeah, that's probably true.
And you've mentioned the weight, and the margarita isn't going to help the weight.
Yeah, that's true. Those are pretty
you've
fattening.
mentioned things that you're concerned about that so far, I see you as a very competent person, but the ability to make the changes that you need, the knee, the weight, the control of the margaritas, strikes me as something we need to talk more about.
That's very good. By the way, I don't go out and drink, and I'm trying to play the role. Okay. Thank you.
Great job, Kathy. Great job.
Okay, we're going to ask them to talk first, and then we're going to ask for feedback from you, and then our expert team will talk next.
Okay, your humor kept me off balance. And just totally kept discombobulating me.
That's why I did it.
Yeah.
Because you kept trying to touch me right here,
Yeah.
and I was trying to keep you from doing that.
And to find something that you would let me hold on to was exceedingly difficult.
Good. But what surprised me is I expected you to be annoyed with me. like in that role, that character, I thought you'd be annoyed, or the fact that you kept being reflective, and, that surprised me. It was very refreshing.
Thank you.
In this scenario, I felt that it was more real than the previous scenario. And I felt that you actually reached to the root of the cause of the problem. So you found a base ground in which to create more of a healing process. So that's what's good.
Okay, well, let's suppose you've gotten a ways with this, and I guess I thought of this more in the earlier scenario, but I was thinking of a picture I used in a class where a dog is turned around, he has his tail in his mouth, he says, "Now I've got it, now what?" Now let's suppose one of your patients, once you've done all this skillful stuff, all of a sudden this massive avalanche of personal information starts pouring out, and grief and pain and frustration, and here you are, you really are their physician, you're not their therapist. What do you do then?
What do I do then? I'm listening. No, let me back up. We do not have a nosology of spiritual diseases. I think we desperately need a nosology of spiritual diseases. I am basically looking for a sense of identity and self-worth, for a sense of guilt and unforgiveness, for is there a support population around that they can turn to. That's what I'm looking for. And what I will do then, if one of those gets identified, is go to that. In the meantime, I would like to have a relationship of trust. And so I am talking with the patient, looking for some place so that there will be a relationship, but some place where I can go. Now,
Just saying, what if it's way too much to handle in a medical visit? Because, it can often take an hour. I mean, often in a therapy session, an hour isn't enough for the whole story to emerge. But you started digging, and if you get a gusher, what do you do then when you're a physician? You don't have a whole therapeutic hour, and you realize, all of your archaeology has been profitable. You're really hitting something important.
Well, then to me, you'd do a triage situation. So you're going to pick out what might be the most important, and you're going to triage it and either defer it to the next time or refer to somebody else.
Can I do like what Carla did as I was reflecting on the role? And my husband, by the way, is a general internal medicine physician, and he has difficult patients all the time. And what I wanted to know, I kept finding, does this guy really care about me? And I think as practitioners, they don't want us to fix everything. Or, yeah, they would, but it was the idea, what I wanted was, do you really care about me? And you can establish that. And, he says, he's a Christian, and he says to his patients, I can't fix this, but I want you to know that I care. And, just relieving that, like the pressure of an abscess or something. And then he could have made recommendations like, where he didn't get into where to go for support. But I think just acknowledging people's pain, being with them in their pain, and saying I care is huge.
Okay, the panel can please respond.
Do I have a working mic?
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. Different caring physicians have different styles and ways of doing this, and Harvey can get away with saying and doing things that I probably couldn't because just because he's Harvey Elder. I would have a little different style for approaching this, but I thought it was excellent how you are able to perceive, kind of think in terms of those spiritual differential diagnoses, if you please, and kind of zero in on where the pay dirt is. And you, kind of like a dog with a bone there, you do not give up until you've gotten to that. Once you perceive that there is that thing in there that needs to be gotten to. I want to say we don't have to fix the things that we find. And this is a big mistake when we go into medicine thinking it's all about, I have to find it and fix it, and then my job is done. Simply being fully present as an attentive presence. Our full attention is one of the greatest gifts we can give someone, to be that caring, listening presence, so that by entering into this sacred space together where this story is shared, is healing in itself. So the physician themselves is part of the healing instrument, is not just a fixer of bodies or provider of generic care of some sort. I share Will's distaste for that provider term too. I didn't go to provider school here. So anyway, I thought that was very, very interesting. I couldn't have done it that way.
Thank you, John.
I thought it was good.
To follow up on the style issue, and again, I think to take nuggets of truth out of a simulation is what simulations are for, because they're always artificial, recognizing that. And again, being a simulation, you might have done this differently in real life, but I'm a little bit more comfortable dwelling a little bit more, even in a case like this where I don't know the full history yet, and yes, we'll get the records and all, to do a little bit more exploring with the actual problem itself, and perhaps even in this case some reassurance, yes, a total knee can be redone. You have to have a really good surgeon and you can find something else kind of thing. To do a little bit of actual reassurance that, let's look, we don't know for sure yet, but there is some hope here. I wanted to ask you if that sounded feasible beyond the simulation. Then I wanted to ask Kathy something. And again, this is personality style, but when I've had patients ask me that, can you give me a prescription? I literally have a few times written a prescription, no dishes for a week, no vacuuming for a week, that sort of thing.
Can I come to you?
Obviously, it's a big joke, but it also...
He's a popular physician.
I don't think they've ever been taken seriously. But how would you have... You responded to his seriousness. Would you have responded to a light moment like that? How would that have redeemed and lightened it? Or would you have taken it that if I immediately would have brought back in and said, you know, clearly it's a joke, it's not for real, but it acknowledges that piece.
It probably would have made me mad because I knew it couldn't be real, you know. I mean, one time I had carpal tunnel surgery and the doctor said not to wash dishes for 2 weeks, and my kids laughed at me. I mean, I was kind of remembering that when I said that. So, and I actually had to do dishes anyway. But, you know, so I think I really preferred his style.
Your question about the referral, my knowledge of artificial knees is too limited. I contemplated that, but I didn't know. And so I chose not to go there.
But that would be a reasonable...
Oh, that's where I would have gone.
Reassurance.
Yeah, that went much earlier.
You could have tried it. I mean, do you actually do that?
No, I'm not an orthopedist.
No, I meant, do you actually give prescriptions for stuff like that?
Rarely, and if I know someone well, have a good relationship, and in that lighthearted moment, I reflect it in a lighthearted way, but then dive right back into serious.
Sure.
Because obviously that's not real or true.
Right.
But I have at the end of the visit sometimes said, by the way, here's that prescription.
Yeah.
You know, just...
Yeah.
I thought one of the things that was really wonderful was, and I think it was because, Kathy, of the persona that you put on of kind of being this, don't get close to me, is that, Dr. Elder, you went to a third person mode. So what would it take for Kathy to like Kathy? I find that sometimes those kinds of questions are easier for people to answer that don't tend to be as reflective or as deep. Another question that I love is if someone is crying, to be able to say, what are your tears saying? Instead of saying, why are you crying? Or, you know, what is that about? There's something about being able to remove that that makes it a little easier for someone to talk about it. And you did that on several occasions where you kind of put it out there so that she could talk about that person, which I thought was very effective.
Thank you.
Yeah, another piece that I really appreciated was just as others have commented, your assessment and zeroing in on what was really at the root of what was going on here. One piece of that was just the general feeling of helplessness that she was expressing. And, you know, there's all of these different problems going on in my life, and there's nothing I can do about it. This is just the way it is. And when you put out that question of okay, so what can you do about this? What's your plan? Give me a plan, or I'm going to give you one. And I thought that was a brilliant question, because it put her in a place of giving her the opportunity to name what it is she needs to do. And I thought it was effective. And the other piece that you did is that after that you affirmed her. You offered her an affirmation that you're a competent woman. You can do this. And that's important as well, because that also takes her out of that mentality of being helpless or being a victim. The other piece that I want to touch on as well is just to a sort of a self-promotion. I'm a chaplain. Use us. Refer is absolutely an important piece, I think, in our field in healthcare. Is we have a whole team of people out there. You guys don't, and you women don't have to do this on your own. And the one person stood up and commented, well, how do we deal with all this stuff if something really starts to pour out, as was beginning to happen here? Make a referral. In some of our hospitals in the St. Joseph Health System, we have arrangements made where the doctor's offices are in buildings adjacent right to the acute care hospital, where the chaplains are stationed. A physician has a situation like this come up, he can call over to the hospital and say, hey, we need a chaplain to come over. And there you have it. So I think that is a great resource. And then, of course, there's always recommending following up counseling or what have you. So I would just put that out there as a suggestion.
Yeah.
What would you have prescribed or recommended if I hadn't, if Carl hadn't saved me, what would you have said?
I was about to end the conversation at that point. Anyway, she saved me.
But you had said that you would tell her something if she didn't come up with it.
I did.
Oh.
I told her that she was loved.
So, okay.
Now, the pain was in your knee, and that's why you came. Can a physician use this where the pain is to talk about anything else, or must they go elsewhere?
But I gave him tons of cues that it was a much bigger problem.
No. Because I usually ask patients, so has this affected everything you do? And he did that in a way. So I think that's an important one. The other thing is, so when you've had other problems, including your knee, what's helped you the most? That's not a religious question, but it is a spiritual care question. Because it says, I do margaritas. That was fun. I may be right or wrong. I teach residents, the last thing you do is refer to a chaplain. And the story behind that is, if they keep referring to the chaplains, they'll never learn. And you can't see every patient.
We're going to take one last comment, and then we'll finish up with a movie.
I wanted to ask Harvey, is there any time when you would give your personal testimony, this is what Jesus has done in my life? What would be the situation in which that would be appropriate?
Okay.
He's had 3 margaritas, I suppose.
Okay, let's have a setting. I have been seeing a patient. We have identified a particular area or problem. Identity, self-worth, guilt, meaninglessness. And we've talked about that. We've talked a bit in terms of, and I know that this is a Christian, for example, and I'll come back if they weren't. And I've done the Christian sort of thing, and we're not getting anywhere. I would say, can I tell you how things have worked for me? And I will detail for them, again, depending on schedule and many other things, Ingrid. I will detail for them, either in 2 minutes or in 10 minutes, whatever time I have, how that God has worked in my life to deal with that issue. Now, if this is a non-Christian, and my attempts to talk about these spiritual issues in a non-Christian basis has not gotten me anywhere, I would say to the patient, you're probably aware I am a committed Christian. I take it very seriously. Would you be interested in the way a Christian looks at this problem? And I've almost always had yes. And I would say to them something to this effect. I believe that Jesus Christ came, He lived and died to take care of the problems that I face. And trusting Him has made all the difference in my life. Period. I'm finished.
Can I raise one more thing? And that is, more and more as I listen to physicians and watch them with patients, somewhere along the line, to try to determine the difference between healing and curing gets into this. And the desire is to cure, and your desire that I love in you is to heal. Because I think in healing, you're more apt to cure.
Carla, I need to say one thing here. I value so much, and the two gentlemen up here, Will and Harvey, are the two people that I saw model this approach as a student and a resident. And going away from the Loma Linda setting, there's a stark difference between people who have come through this kind of mentorship and those who aren't. I now supervise a fairly large group of physicians, most of whom are not from Loma Linda. And I'm struck by the privilege it has been to come from this perspective. Some people have a natural ability to reach out and think, and as Christians may think this way already, beyond the disease or the presenting problem. But this is just such a rich resource, and the students who go through Loma Linda University and the residents who go through and are exposed to this additional aspect, which is really the core, I believe, of the healing arts, but it's missed at many, if not most places. So I want to say thank you to Harvey and Will for the legacy they gave me as a graduate.
Thank you. Thank you very much.